Hi everyone and welcome back to another episode of Beneath the Lift Tower. My name's Charles McGilvray and as always I'm joined by Jess Keble and Simon Stacey. We're a fan podcast by fans for fans. This is a very special episode. We're joined by a very special guest. Born in Warwick, his first club was Shipston on Stour, initially part of the Worcester Warriors Academy before switching across to Saints. Like so many, he made his debut for Saints in the PRC, where Irish, scoring one of the 4 tries he scored in his first 3 games for the club. He's also another great example of the arrangement with Bedford bearing fruit, having some standout performances for the Blues. Other representation is for England, including the under-20s and the England A side. He's now a regular in the Saints side, but most notable performance was last year's final, being named man of the match from the bench, setting up the winning try for Mitch with that phenomenal break. 46 appearances, 22 tries, Saint 2041. George Hendy. How you doing, George?
Yeah, good. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no, thanks for coming on. How you body feeling okay after last Friday?
Yeah, a little bit sore as it always is, but nothing too serious. And then straight back into what's been a pretty hectic week with Europe this weekend.
Yeah, it's always a tough place to go, Sal. I don't think we won there in 8, so it was whilst it was a loss, I think we all took a bit of encouragement from that performance, sort of thing.
Yeah, definitely. I think we did as well. We were having a lad who'd never played 10 before, Tom James, at fly half. And fun fact, I think he was the only starting player in the back line who'd never played 10 at any level, school, age group, or anything. And he was playing 10. So, but no, we took a lot of confidence. We played more our way, did a lot more things that we'd say as us than we'd seen in the previous weeks. So yeah, we took a lot of confidence from it, and actually, we're in a pretty good place for this weekend.
Yeah, nice. We'll get into some of that in a bit, but love to start with your start in the game and how you got into rugby and how where it all started, really.
Yeah, so I think it was probably a way for my parents to get me out the house at first. Pretty energetic kid growing up, and we'd heard about a good community, and good, like, family friendly rugby club in Shipston on Stour, which is only about 20 minutes away. Went there when I was probably about 5 or 6, so pretty early on, and my dad took up coaching as well, at that age group as well, and me and my dad went through all the age groups all the way up until under 18, so Colts level. So he coached me every Sunday, no matter what the weather was, um, all the way until I was 18. So yeah, it's a pretty special club.
Oh, that's amazing. That must be, a really phenomenal sort of thing to have done. Go through all the groups all the way up to Colts, because I imagine a lot of players who go on to become professional rugby players don't get that opportunity to sort of stay at a club like Shipston Stour through to a cult level. They normally get picked up a lot earlier, and they're in academies and representative sides, etc.
Yeah, I think for me it was, I'll say even now, or maybe not after last year, but definitely the most fun I've had playing rugby was there every Sunday with what was, my best mates from school, my best mates who I've been playing from under sevens with. And we just had a really good group, and yeah, it was really fun. And I remember when I was part of the Worcester Warriors setup growing up. So I think they approached me when I was about 13, 12, 13, doing, your DPP development stuff when there's hundreds of kids in one age group all there trying to throw their hat in the ring. And then when things start getting more serious, they ask you to kind of stop playing club rugby because they think you're doing enough already with school and the academy stuff. So I know obviously Finn Smith was at Shipston on Stour as well.
Okay.
And he stopped playing because of, school, and Worcester Academy advised him not to. But I just kind of didn't really hope they never really brought it up and carried on playing on a Sunday as much as I could because I was just having so much fun doing it.
Does that fun of the game still stick with you? Do you obviously loved it and had obviously great experience with your father, I imagine, as well. But does that love of it still sit with you now that it's a professional job?
Yeah, of course it does. Absolutely. I mean, it was something that I've always said, growing up. I think so. When I was about 16, I got dropped from the Worcester Warriors Academy. They have those meetings, parents come in, and I remember speaking to my dad and he was like, "You feeling confident?" And I was like, "Absolutely. I'm feeling like this could actually be a future." And then obviously it didn't go my way. And thankfully, Will Parkin, who used to be one of the academy coaches, he tried to speak to me previously when I was already at Worcester. So my parents gave him a ring and asked if they could have another look at me. And within the week, I was there at my first session with Northampton. So it didn't, it wasn't the be all and end all. But from that point on, I said I was just going to try and see what level I could get to and put everything into it. And I turned around. I think my dad said, "Well, you could do this for a job if you really want it." And I said, "Well, I'm happy if the best level I can ever get to is playing on a Saturday at my local rugby club with all my mates. Then as long as I've given it everything, I'll be happy with that." And then obviously things just kept almost going my way. You need a bit of luck with these things as well. And yeah, I'd like to say I'm pretty happy with where I am now. So
And were you playing like so you're sort of a back three player predominantly currently, but I think were you always that, or were you sort of more in the infield, midfield, or sort of 10 role before, were you?
no, so I was definitely more of a fly half and 12 growing up. So I think when I was, early stages of contact rugby, I'd be out on the wing, maybe outside centre, because I was pretty quick back then. And then I was a bit of a late developer, some would say. So everybody started overtaking me and becoming bigger and stronger and faster. And that was when I kind of had to learn how to play rugby and how to see things, which I definitely helped me. So that was when I moved more to fly half, and then as I then grew a bit later, bit more of 12. But the fullback thing happened really late on, so about a week or two before the under 18 fixtures started for Northampton. So it was my last year. They'd already offered out the contracts for the boys in my year, and obviously I wasn't one of them. We had 4 matches left of the under 18 season, and I was like, I've got nothing to lose. We'll see what happens. And I think our fullback at the time, he when he got told he wasn't being offered a contract, he quit to go focus on his A levels. And they kind of went, "Anybody fancy playing fullback?" kind of thing. And I was like, "Well, yeah, if it gets me on the pitch, I'm all for it." And I had a bit of a blinder at fullback with a little bit of 12 as well, and then got signed as a fullback. So yeah, it happened pretty late.
Yeah, that's unbelievable that it's gone. It was a last minute decision, and then you're now playing on for England A on the wing, etc. That's insanity. In terms, you said there about pace and power and everything, and I remember watching you for Blues when you were playing out at Bedford, etc. And I said that you were catching people off guard. They seemed to underestimate your pace and your power, and you were busting through tackles where maybe you shouldn't be. That you were catching off, and then you fast forward to the Munster game and you do it to Simon Zebo. We completely catch him off guard. The final, you rounded Ollie Lawrence in international centre. Is that something you recognise, or why do you think that seems to happen from an external point of view? Anyway, it seems like the defenders just aren't expecting you to have the pace and the power that you've clearly got.
I'll be honest, I've never really thought of it that much. I think my first credit to Sam Vesti for drilling it into everybody, but my first thought is every time I've got the ball is, can I score? And it's then if I can't score, can the next person outside me score? Then if they can't score, like what's the next option? But it's always when you've got the ball in your hands, are you the best option here? So you look at somebody like Pollock, for example, recently. Every time he's got the ball in his hands, it's I'm scoring. And then it's like, if I'm not scoring, who's scoring next? And that's kind of the approach I take. And it's like every time I've got the ball, if I back myself to try and go around somebody, sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But I feel like the decisiveness in that is probably what's helped me at the moment.
Right, okay. And so then you say you obviously you came across from Worcester at a young age, coming to the Saints side, and you made your breakthrough year probably last year. I mean, quite a good year.
Yeah, I'd say so. It was, yeah, it's up there. It's up there. But no, it was. I got given the shot. I think first game. It was Sale away again. First game of the season last year. And Furbank picked up an injury, and it was. I had a pretty good pre-season. Spoken to the coaches and said I really want to kick on this year. And yeah, got the chance. First game of the season, and like to say I took my opportunity, or the coaches like what they saw, and yeah, I was able to go from there and keep throwing my hat in the ring. But it got to a point where last year, especially, when we had full fitness, it was how do I get in the 23? The starting back three at Saints is the starting back three at England, or has been. It was against New Zealand this year, so it was then how do I push them to make the coaches, reconsider and throw my name in the ring, and who else?
Yeah. Hi, George. As Charles just mentioned, this year or last year was your breakthrough season. What was it like to come off the bench and then be named man of the match? That must have just been the most insane feeling.
Yeah, I think there's a video of me on the internet saying some rude things when I got told that. I think Jack Miller, the head of media, kind of came over to me post game and was like, "You need to come and do an interview. You got man of the match." And I was like, "You've got to be joking," because it all happened so quickly. And then yeah, I don't really remember too much after that. It was just such a blur, and everybody's on top of the world, but yeah, it was pretty nice feeling, and yeah, like I said, I probably didn't deserve the man of the match, or well, people tell me differently, but it's like, you feel like you've only been on the pitch for 25 minutes and lads have put in 80, 85 minutes of what it finished on. So you feel a bit like you've kind of cheaped your way to it. But yeah, I'll take my first Prem man of the match in the final.
Slightly underestimating yourself there, but yeah. When you, as Charles said a minute ago, about when you broke past Ollie Lawrence, you just literally breezed past him and then set up Mitch for that try. What was going through your head? Because obviously it's such a tense game. You guys probably felt it, but us being in the stadium, I was just like, what's going to happen? And then you just did that break, and we're like, he's through, pops it to Mitch, and Mitch goes under. What was that like?
Well, I got the ball in a bit of space, and when you get a bit of space, you have a bit more time to kind of pick your option and have a look who's in front of you, personnel. And I think I had Tom James, I think, was on the wing. And I kind of saw Will Muir kind of second guessing himself because of TJ outside me, and just thought I'll go for that. And then once I got through the first bit, I was just thinking score. TJ was pretty angry with me for not giving it to him on the right, because I think he had a walk in the moment, but I was just head down. And then once I got tackled, I looked for the offload and saw Mitch there on his usual cheat line, halfway across the pitch, and I knew he was there, and he did a pretty good job finishing it himself. But yeah, I owed TJ quite a few drinks, I think, after that. But he was but no, like I said, it was just, I'm going to get as far as I can until I'm stopped, and thankfully it was enough.
To then probably what nailed on the man of the match, to then go on and rip the ball, the last play of the game. What was that feeling, the wait? Because we were waiting, because they were checking it, weren't they? What was going through your head, thinking, have we won, have we not, have we?
I absolutely had no idea. I couldn't watch the screen, couldn't look at the refs. I look around and I see all the lads celebrating already, and I was like, is it over? Like it was that was probably the longest, like 30 seconds to a minute of my life, I think. And then once the ref blew his whistle, it was just mental. Like seeing like how hard we'd worked all year to get to that point as well. I think it was just a massive relief. And we'd always said that we're a skillful group, we're a good team, we can win the league, and we've never really kicked on. But yeah, last year felt like a proper turning stone.
It was amazing, wasn't it? And talking of that day, it was so special. What was it like that day, the day after, when you guys were all on that bus and you like come into the town, the Guildhall, there was like tens of thousands of people there.
It was mental. I think on the bus on the way over, we were like, we'd already been back at the stadium for a fair few hours before, chatting and celebrating some more. And then we all get on the buses and everyone's like, oh, is this going to be any good? Like, how many people are there going to be? But I think once we saw about 2,000-3,000 people probably following the buses, walking through town, we were like, this is going to be pretty cool. And then when we turned the corner to the market square and it was just, the amount of people, we were all just a bit gobsmacked, I think. So yeah, that was pretty special to realize, like, how many people, had been supporting us throughout the whole year and were backing us and wanted to celebrate with us, which was pretty cool.
Yeah. And as I've read somewhere, how many days after did you celebrate? Because there's rumours that you carried on with your goggles and your kit for a few days after.
I was speaking to some of the physios, and we were still in contention for Europe, and still in contention, and obviously secured a semi-final in the Premiership. And I said that I'd try and do a week per trophy we won. And so we lost that game to Leinster. And speaking to some of the senior boys, and they said, we will smash the Prem now, because it was the first time we'd ever had like such a high stakes game like that in a while. A lot of lads, hadn't played in a game of that magnitude, 85,000 people, all that stuff at Croke Park. And then, to be honest, Twickenham didn't really, obviously Twickenham was loud, but the intensity that we had over in Dublin was just off the scale. So I think we'd all kind of, the nerves had gone a bit. And then come the final, we were flying. And then I think I spent Saturday, Sunday and Monday in my kit. I promise I did shower. I promise. I just put my dirty kit back on. And then, that was pretty special. And then I think the Monday, I think Joel Matavesi had his stag do abroad. So a lot of the senior lads went there, and then a lot of the lads with families celebrated with them. So it was just all of the academy lads left kind of going, well, what should we do? So I think spent Monday going pub to pub, and then booked a holiday Monday night for Tuesday morning via the tattoo shop to try and remember it. Nice. So we all got a little stick figure saints, the little saint with the halo, to mark it. So yeah, it was pretty. That was another bet that we'd made earlier in the year, I think.
Moving on to this season, then you've played, as Charles spoke about it, played fullback and wing. What is your favourite position, and where do you reckon you are better at? What position?
Tricky question. I think I prefer fullback. I think it gives me more natural opportunities on the ball, especially with the kicking game. I got more time on the ball, and during our set plays, I'm normally, running the lines that I want to be running. But no, honestly, whatever position gets me on the pitch, I'm pretty happy to play in that position. The only thing, with the new laws around the high ball, it is competitive and it is tough, and it's an area of my game that I need to get a lot better at, and I've been working hard at it recently. So I think that probably encouraged the switch last weekend with the Sale game after Tigers. But yeah, like I said, as long as I'm on the pitch, I'm pretty happy, and yeah,
that's the best way to be, I suppose. Yeah. Now with Slights out for the rest of the season, do you hope that it gives you a bit of more of an opportunity to make the shoe and be on the wing or full back, and probably push for maybe his England shirt going on to Argentina?
It's definitely something I've been thinking about after the England A game. I haven't had a proper chat with Steve or any of the senior coaches, but I want to push for a spot on the plane to Argentina this summer, especially with the Lions tour happening, and a few big names from England will be going there. So I think it's an opportunity to try and push that. And like I said, if not, it's not because I'm not trying hard enough. And that hopefully the time will come. But like I said earlier, if I've given it absolutely everything and England never comes knocking, I'm something I can live with. But obviously, you want to play for your country, you want to push on to Lions and all that stuff. But yeah.
Thank you.
And thinking about, go back to England Day, what was that experience like generally? I mean, I think against Ireland you only came on, didn't you, towards the end of the game? But what was the kind of experience like in camp? And you obviously had some of your, I think about 5 of your Saints teammates with you. So what was that entire experience like?
Yeah, it was pretty cool. It was quite different to the under-20s environment that I'd kind of been in before. Because you're looking around and you're seeing lots of big names in the Premiership that from when I'd first joined Saints, I was watching them go and I want to be where they get to. But everybody, it was so relaxed. The coaches were pretty chilled and all of the lads were pretty nice because they know that it's only for a week and everybody wants to play as well. So it was a good competitive level, but everybody was pretty good mates by the end of it. And then obviously you've got your senior people like Jack Van Portvliet then going back up into senior camp after Curtis Langdon, who'd been in senior camp for a while. So yeah, it was a pretty cool environment. And then yeah, like I said, again, happy to get given the opportunity to come off the bench and hopefully show a bit of what I could do and hopefully impress some of the coaches.
And you've already mentioned about thinking about ahead to kind of England seniors. Is that something that's present in your mind from now, or are you kind of focused on finishing out the season with Saints strongly, bearing in mind, the big European fixtures, or do you always have one eye on those international fixtures?
I think Dowson probably sums it up the best in that when the team does well, the individual honours just naturally come. So you look at 2-3 years ago and we're just starting to get the ball rolling in terms of a Saints side, and then you look and you see 7-8 Saints named in the England squads and of the back of us performing well. So I think you've always got one eye on your personal aspirations to go and play for your country, but I think the more important task is that if we can start pulling results out and going far in competitions, it's hard for the coaches to not look at your team and not look at the personnel in that. So I think I'll always have one eye on England, but pretty much focused on Saints and how I can get better and try and help Saints win.
And how are you guys in the team feeling about the fixture on Friday? It's obviously a humongous one. What's the atmosphere like in camp?
Yeah, it is actually pretty good. I think the Sale performance, even though we came on the back, the wrong side of the result, we were actually pretty confident in what we'd done. And this week's been a pretty good training week. Everybody's been firing on all cylinders and looking sharp. So I think we've got the game plan that we think will work against Clermont. And we're just hoping for the opportunity to, bring on Friday. And yeah, we want to get it done now because we're pretty fired up.
And I've got to ask, not related to any games that are coming up, but something that I think it's Vesti said about you, about how your legs are on backwards and it makes your running style kind of unique, I would say. Is that always the way that it's been? Have you always, because it is a very unique running style, is that always how you've kind of moved?
Yeah, definitely. So I was pigeon-toed growing up and wearing orthotics and going to the hospital to get them, every now and then, putting them in my rugby boots and my school shoes and all sorts. And then used to do quite a lot of athletics as well to try and, when I was young, I just wanted to do as much sport as possible. So, even through the winter, going down to Stratford Athletics Club and trying to get quicker there and trying to work on it. But it got to a point where I wasn't really worried about how I was looking when I was running. As long as I was running fast, that was all that mattered to me. So yeah, I think maybe it's something that's helped because It's hard to see which way my legs are going at times, so it might help me at times.
I think it definitely does. And in terms of outside of the game, obviously sports is a huge part of your life. Is there anything else that you kind of do outside of the game, anything that interests you?
I wouldn't say so. I live with two other boys. We all like hop on PlayStation together in the evening, or cook together, play cards, go for coffees. I think there isn't really a big driver that I've got currently. I was studying at Loughborough University, but last year it kind of didn't really work out when I was playing every week, and they wanted me in for practicals and labs, and it wasn't really as much flexibility as I thought they might offer me. But no, definitely looking to keep cracking on with stuff, coaching courses, whatever it is. Like, I'm happy to give them all a go. But yeah, when I'm away from the ground, it's just pretty chilled out and pretty relaxed.
To be honest, you're not the first person that we've had on that have said playing cards and going for coffees. That seems to be the thing in the squad. And so they're kind of the two that you live with, are they kind of the people you're close to or closest to in the squad? Do you have a particular group?
Yeah, I guess so. So I live with Craig Wright, the hooker, and Jake Garside as well. So we lived together from the start of this year. And yeah, so I'd say they're two of my pretty closest mates. And then Tom Lockett, Finn Brown, all the other lads around my age. And then always, happy to help out and like look after the younger lads as well, because I know what it's like for them coming through, and sometimes a frosty reception from the senior lads can be a bit off-putting, and so I'm just trying to help bridge that gap, I guess. So that's why we're playing a lot of cards, a lot of darts recently as well. I'm trying my best to get good, but it doesn't really want to happen. So that's the way, isn't it? Yeah, tough sport.
Well, some of your teammates have been, haven't they? They've been to the darts and they've been on telly, haven't they, doing the darts? Is that pushing you? Is that what you want to do?
Oh, absolutely. I did have a game. I think I did go on stage with Alex Mitchell at one point. We were both injured at the time, so that was pretty cool. But I think my first 3 darts I scored 2, so it wasn't really my finest moment. I'd like to say I'd be a bit better than that now. That's for sure.
That's great. I'm gonna throw back over to Simon. You normally have at least a variant on your kind of big question.
I know you've only just begun your career, but my question I ask everybody is, who's the best player you played with, against, and if you could play with anybody right now, so you could bring them to Saints anytime, whatever year, who would that be?
Well, best player with has to be Courtney. It's a toss-up between Courtney and Dan Bigger, I'd say. I didn't play much with Dan Bigger, but I think I got 1 or 2 games with him, maybe. But no, I'd say Courtney from a consistency point of view, and obviously his career was pretty stacked, wasn't it? And it was nice for him to finish up. I'm trying to think best player against. Anybody from the Ireland squad, because they all play for Leinster, maybe. Yeah, some pretty big names, Gibson Park, Furlong, Porter, Sheehan, James Lowe. There's some pretty big names in that, so I reckon any of those Leinster lads, that was pretty cool. I'm trying to think. I don't want to be harsh on anybody and bring them over in someone's position.
It's just imagine you're not dropping anybody.
Yeah, no. I reckon one of the Barretts would be pretty. Any of the 3, Scott, Geordie, or Brad Bowden. Brad, that was a throwback. But no, I'd say any one of those 3, I think would make a pretty good addition to our team, and they look like they want to play in a similar way that we do as well. So,
fair enough.
Yeah, hopefully, in a few games in Europe, you might even play against one of them.
Yeah, hopefully. No, like I said, we're pretty confident that we'll get the win on Friday, and then I think it's Benetton or Cast if we win Friday the following week. And obviously, we've already beaten Cast previously this season. So yeah, we'll be pretty confident going into that, I imagine, as well, and then bring on Leinster, I imagine.
Yeah. Get the flights booked. Yeah. Just before we let you go, I just want to pick up on one point you made there. It was around the Leicester game. So you obviously, you switched with Rambo from fullback and wing, etc. And that Leicester game was a real tough one for everyone. Everyone on the pitch, it was a tough game, and the conditions got worse, and it was no one's best day at the office, etc. But with those high balls, for example, that after a while, the crowd sort of seemed to turn, and then you'd catch it quite, like you normally would. You'd catch the ball, and they almost became sarcastic. In some of the gyms. No one on this podcast did that, I can assure you. Right? But what's going through your head? Is that affecting you? Are you taking that in, or?
Not particularly. I think I always knew I was going to get a bit of a barrage with Pollard at 10. One of the best kickers in world rugby, and Jack Van Poortvliet is one of the best 9s in the world at kicking as well. And then you've obviously got Freddie Stewart, who's one of the best high ball catchers in world rugby as well. So I kind of knew that I was going to get bombarded a little bit. But been speaking to the coaches, trying to work on my process and, the technical side of it a bit more. But, with the crowd cheering, you just kind of laugh about it afterwards. And I think, sitting down with Jake Sharp going through the game, and he said, well, last year, if that happened but we won, nobody talks about it. So he said, it doesn't, you make mistakes in the past when we've won games and you kind of gloss over it and look at the good stuff because we've won. So he said, don't feel like you're going to have to change a lot, because nobody had their best game, nobody was catching balls, and it wasn't just you. So don't push for, I think he said, don't push for the 1% outcome. Because you can quite easily then go and try and make something magical happen every time you touch the ball, and that's not what's best for the team and how we play. So he said, just try and be as consistent as possible, and the magic stuff will happen off the back of that.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. It's just, it's very interesting to know, how something like the crowd or whatever would affect a player, because they're supposed to be getting behind you, not making those sort of calls. But it's good to hear that it water off a duck's back, etc.
Yeah, of course it is. And I think like the same thing happens with your keyboard warriors as well, and it's something that a lot of lads might view differently to me, but I'm not really too bothered. I actually find them quite amusing at times. When somebody's telling you how to do your job, it's like, well, come on, you come down for a session and we'll see what you like.
Is it hard that he gets it on the phone on the way back from away games and starts reeling it off? Is that right?
Yeah, to be fair, we all do. We all have a right old giggle about them, to be fair. I think it was I think my first Premiership start that I made was when we took a bit of a beating at Bristol away. And that was kind of, I was looking through the phone, and obviously you look at the comments because you're part of it, you're part of what the post is about, so you have a look at the comments and see what people are saying. And that was when I was like, who cares, as long as the squad is backing each other and backing each other's skills, it's like nothing else outside of that environment's really going to affect it. So yeah, like I said, after the Tigers game, it was a bit of reflection after, but then a new challenge when we came in. I think we came in on the Sunday after Tigers, so a new challenge on Sunday after Tigers, moving on to Sale. Take what you need out of the game and move on to the next one.
Yeah, no, amazing, and the next one's going to hopefully be a real special one under the lights at
That's the plan.
So
that's the plan.
It's been amazing to have you on, George. It's been phenomenal. So thank you very much for your time. It's been incredible. And thanks very much for listening at home. I've been Charles. Jess has been Jess. Simon's been Simon. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Goodbye, guys.
Thank you.
Cheers, George. That was top.